What is up, guys? Great to be live. Just kind of testing this out a little bit, see how it goes. Just waiting for people to get in right now. I'm just going to ramble on about the James Harden trade while I wait for people to get in. This was probably the biggest trade we've seen in who knows how long. I mean, I'm just going to talk a little bit about each side. So the Nets, obviously, you had to do the deal if you're the Nets. It's as simple as that. And I mean, the Nets, you're in a championship window right now with Kyrie and KD. Obviously, you don't know when Kyrie is coming back. But this is a deal you have to do, because if you don't do this deal, it's probably the Sixers to do it, who are a main competitor in the East. You got to do this deal. Now, I understand. Look, they gave up 4 first-round picks unprotected, 4 pick swaps. That is, I mean, that is the definition of mortgaging your future. But when you have players like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and when you get a top 5 player like James Harden in his prime, I mean, it's a deal you got to do to get a top 5 player in his prime. They're going to win multiple championships as long as there's no chemistry issues with, honestly, who knows what's going to happen with that. But I think they'll be all right. They'll figure it out. They're all good enough at basketball. Rockets, I thought it was interesting because from a Rockets standpoint, you got to take, I thought they had to take Ben Simmons back. Now, clearly, maybe the Sixers pulled the plug on a last-second deal. But who knows? I think the Rockets, they did well because a lot of those late picks, 2025, 2026, 2027, they'll likely be, good picks because the Nets aren't going to be that good anymore. So you also get Victor Oladipo, possible all-star. You could sign him long-term in free agency. I think they did well. But the 2 teams who I think really went under the radar and did great, Pacers turning Oladipo into LeVert was, in my opinion, great. Oladipo has never been a great fit there, except for that first year he was an all-star. But ever since the last 2 years, he hasn't been a great fit there. So I think LeVert will really shine there. And the Cavs just giving up a future first-round pick for Jared Allen. I don't know why Houston did not want Jared Allen back. So I would put Houston as a TBD, but I think all the other teams did well. But I'm going to get into the props right here. The way I'm going to run this is, again, I'm just kind of experimenting with this live stream today. Don't have a ton of, actual props prepared, but I want to mostly just take questions and just have like an open discussion. So I want you guys, whoever's watching this, first of all, thanks for watching. And third of all, just want to just fire in your questions and I'll be sure to answer them. But I'll talk about the Knicks Nets game to start out while everyone fires in their questions about props tonight. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I released a video today on Twitter and on YouTube for the Knicks Wall, which is another site that I contribute. Be sure to follow them at the Knicks Wall. Great website for the Knicks. If you're a Knicks fan, even if you're just not a Knicks fan, they're just, if you're a general basketball fan, they're a great account to follow. But I basically released 3 prop bets for the Knicks net game tonight. And the funny thing is I recorded this video as I'm editing it. Right after that is when the Harden trade was announced. So I had 3 prop bets and then DraftKings pulled all their props for the game. FanDuel still has some props up. So if you are on FanDuel, and I haven't really looked at other books, but other books may still have props up, but DraftKings did pull everything. Now, I want to talk about the 3 props that I did if you did not see my video. So I do have Julius Randle over 5.5 assists. Now, that's something that we've relied on this year a lot. And the reason why is because, he's averaging 6.9 per season, playing 37.1 minutes per game. We know that the way that Tom Thibodeau likes to run his guys kind of into the ground, he plays them a ton. He's cleared this number 7 out of 11 times this year. And the 3 out of the times that he did not clear this 5.5 number, he ended with 5 assists in the game, just a 0.5 away. He also has an assist percentage at 31.1%, 98th percentile amongst all bigs. So I'm going to keep taking Randle over assists as long as he stays at that 5.5. I do expect books to start raising it to 6.5 very, very soon. So I'm going to take advantage of that while I could. The next prop I had was Austin Rivers. This is another thing. So Austin Rivers, he's not available on FanDuel right now, but he is announced in the starting lineup tonight because Reggie Bullock will be out with a hip injury. So I had Austin Rivers originally over 12.5 points. Didn't end up putting the bet in, but they pulled it from DraftKings right now. Now, again, depending on what book you're on, they may have put it back up. They may have never taken it off. But I do like his original over 12.5 points tonight. He is starting. He got 37 minutes in the game that he started for Bullock last game. And he's averaging 12 points on the season, 9.3 shots per game. Nets defense hasn't been good this year. Plus, Nets, I didn't even mention this. The Nets are not going to have, obviously, LeVert, they just traded. Allen, they just traded. And Taurean Prince, Rodion Kuric, they all just traded these guys. So it's going to be basically Kevin Durant and a bunch of role players tonight, other than like Joe Harris, who normally sees a ton of minutes. So it's going to be a weird Nets lineup tonight. I think that this is a good matchup for Austin Rivers. Nets are allowing 113.2 points per game, and they could struggle even more defensively. That points per game to opponents ranks 22nd in the NBA. So with this increase in minutes, and the Nets' bad defense, I do like Rivers to go over. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about. So I did have Kevin Durant originally over 43.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. That was on DraftKings before the trade. Now on FanDuel, that's bounced up to 48.5. So the question is, do I still like 48.5? And I think I'm going to say yes to this. If you look at the games he's had recently, when Kyrie's been out, Kevin Durant, first of all, he scored more because he's had more scoring opportunities. He scored 36 and 34 in his last 2 games. And he had 13 assists in his last game, 8 plus rebounds in his last 5 games. So he's really stuffing the stat sheet. I think this is a huge stage for Kevin Durant. National TV against the Knicks. He's playing a back-to-back for a reason here. It's because it's against the Knicks. And I think Kevin Durant goes off tonight. So I think he's going to have a huge game. I think he could easily hit that over 48.5. The 43.5 I thought was a great line. Now I think this is a good line. But yeah, just fire away any questions you have. I don't really have a ton more planned to talk about. But yeah, I mean, I'll answer any questions that people have. So I'm just going to kind of wait here for this. We have a comment coming in here. We want Randle props. Yeah, like I said, over 5.5 assists in this game. I'm going to keep sticking with the Randle props. And a few other things I was considering with Julius Randle, and I'll kind of expand on this right now while I do wait for more questions, is I'm looking at, the Julius Randle props. He's at 22.5 points tonight, and he's averaging around 22 on the season. Now, the Nets are not good guarding in the paint. Brooklyn ranks 26th in the NBA in opponent points per game at 50.2. So I think this actually is a good spot for Randle to go over points. And if we want to even look at rebounds, Brooklyn's not a good rebounding team either. So Brooklyn they're ranked 20th in opponent rebounds allowed per game at 54.4. So Randle, I mean, he does have a pretty high rebound line. I would probably lean towards points instead. But I think this could be a huge night for Randle. I think he's going to go off. He didn't have a good game last game. The Knicks got blown out, but I think he has a huge night here. Any other questions we got? I'm going to look at some of the other games here, see if we could. Now, of course, free moneymaker, Jeremy Grant does play tonight, so I bet on Jeremy Grant a bunch. His line has slowly increased as the season's gone on. He's now at 22.5 over-under for points. So it's funny because at the beginning of the year, he was like at 15.5. Oh, we have a question. All right, Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant over under 2.5 threes at minus 104. So look, here's the problem with the Jeremy Grant props tonight is that I do worry for a Bucks blowout, and their blowouts have really been plaguing the NBA early in this season. It's like a major problem, and half these props have been screwed over by blowouts. Now, looking at right now, opponent 3-pointers allowed per game, Milwaukee ranks 21st in opponent 3-pointers allowed. So teams are hitting the 3 against Milwaukee. They allow 13.5 threes per game. Now going to look at opponent 3-pointers attempted per game. They allow 36.8 shots from 3 to actually be allowed for them. That's also 21st. Opponent 3-point percentage, they're middle of the pack, 16th, 36.8%. Now looking at Jeremy Grant's actually, could he go over 2.5 threes? Well, he is shooting. Let me just get. So I'm experimenting with this whole live stream thing. It's slowing up my second screen here. So I apologize I have all these stats up right now, and I'm just trying to switch back between screen and screen, and it's going extremely slow. So I'm going to use my phone here for Jeremy Grant. But yeah, I think so. Jeremy Grant, he's averaging 25 a game. I think he could go over his 22 if it's not a 22.5, if it's not a blowout. He's shooting 7.2 threes per game, hitting 2.7 in them. So again, another thing is if it's a close game, I think he does go over. If it's not, I don't really know. But let's see, last few games he's gone 3, 3, 2, 4. Yeah, I do I think I would go with Grant over. All right, so we have a few more questions. So points on Beasley. What about the over on Beasley? So we are going to look over here. Okay, so it's funny because I've been picking on the Timberwolves all year because they cannot guard inside at all. So I mean, I wish I could have found some Grizzlies props today. I'm still quite interested in it, but Grizzlies don't really have any dominant bigs. Valanciunas is good, but anyway, looking at Malik Beasley, 18.5 points. Looking at Memphis's defense. I mean, Memphis is usually typically good defensively. They're 9th in opponent points per game at 108. They are Yeah, they don't allow a lot of threes either. Ninth in three-pointers made per game to opponents, 12.1. But Malik Beasley, again, apologize because I do have so many tabs up that everything's going really slow here. So I have to use my phone. So he's averaging 19.4 a game, shooting 15.6 attempts per game, 32.3 minutes per game. Yeah, he's been going off lately. I like Beasley over today against the Grizzlies. I really do. I think he'll have a good game. He's been going off, shoots a lot of threes. I know Memphis is good defensively, but I think that there's very good value there. It's actually listed at plus 120 on DraftKings. That's good value. I do like that. All right. LaMelo props. We have two people asking for LaMelo props. We have Cory and Tim in the comments here asking for LaMelo props. Like any LaMelo props or too crowded of a backcourt. Okay, LaMelo is like, this guy's insane. Like, I had him, quick tangent here before we actually talk about the prop. I had LaMelo as my number one player in the draft class. I thought it was clear cut. The guy was basically putting up triple doubles in another pro league. Like, people just, were kind of shied away from him. Just the fact that, one, the Timberwolves already have, point guards, but I don't think it should have mattered. The Warriors should have taken LaMelo. That would have been something, having Curry and LaMelo in a backcourt. I mean, the way LaMelo passes the ball, that would have been impossible to stop. They could have just signed a center, but anyway, so to the LaMelo props here, looking at him. So over 13.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. He's at over 28.5. Rebounds, he's at 7.5. And assists, he's at 6.5. Honestly, decent matchup against Dallas. Dallas is like, they were putting up great numbers defensively early in the year. So they were like, yeah, they still rank fourth in opponent points per game at 105.7, fourth in opponent threes per game at 11.2, and 17th in 3-point percentage against 35.7. Oh no, I mean opponent threes attempted. And then in terms of three, yeah, so they're second in the NBA in opponent 3-point percentage at 31.5. Again, I don't think Dallas is going to hold up with this defense. They were like one of the worst defensive teams in the league this year. All of a sudden, they're coming up at the top of categories right now. And LaMelo Ball, honestly, I'm in full support of like most of his overs. And the reason why is just because of his late games. And just look at these last few games for LaMelo, his game logs. He goes 12, 10, and 9. Then he goes 22, 12, and 11. Then he goes 8, 14, and 7. He's stuffing the stat sheet. Honestly, I really like rebounds. I really like over rebounds. Now, looking at Dallas's opponent rebounds per game, Dallas ranks 14th. So they're pretty much league average in opponent rebounds per game. I like Dallas to go. I like LaMelo to go over 7.5 rebounds. He's put up 10, 12. Actually, I should say he's put up 8, 10, 12, 14. So he's covered that in his last 4. I do like LaMelo over rebounds. And honestly, I'd be completely fine taking any LaMelo props. I think he's just going to continue to go off, and I think he's going to run away with Rookie of the Year eventually. Porzingis finally back tonight. What do his props look like? How do you feel again about them? So going to look at DraftKings right here. Looks like they don't have any Kristaps props up. If I had to guess, it's because they mostly just do starters for the props. And I would guess Kristaps is going to come off the bench tonight. Is that correct? Because he's coming off injury. I'm assuming they're going to... Oh, maybe not. Let me look here. Starting lineup probably came out already. I didn't see it. Okay, so FanDuel has him over 15.5 points, over 6.5 rebounds. Yeah, I can't get behind any Porzingis props tonight just because of I don't know how much he's going to play. Like, I don't think that's something you can rely on his first. Like, yeah, they look appealing if it's a normal Porzingis game, 15.5, 6.5, but you don't know what he's actually going to do because you don't know how much he's going to play. But yeah, thank you for the question there. Kristaps, former Knick. So quick story, while we're waiting for more questions here. So be sure to keep firing in these questions. We got some time over here. But quick Kristaps story. Senior year of high school was, I believe, Kristaps' rookie year on the Knicks for me. I actually met Kristaps at a mall near me. I'm from New York. He's obviously was on the Knicks at the time. And he had like an autograph signing, and I went with my friend to go get it. It was interesting. He was a nice guy, just unfortunately betrayed us in New York. All right, so now we have Tim with another question here. Oh, we have 2 more questions. So we have Gordon Hayward over 20.5 points. Gordon Hayward has been playing unreal lately. Of course, the one time that I had Gordon Hayward in my video, guy shot like 3 for 17, but he's been unreal. DraftKings actually has him at 19.5 points, but 20.5. Yeah, I'm a huge Gordon Hayward fan right now. He's playing unreal on that team. And you know what? That contract, it was pretty laughable, but he's producing. So at least in the short term, it'll end up working out for him. Yeah, he's averaging 22 a game. He's shooting a ton. Against the Knicks the other night, he had like 32 when they were mid-third quarter. He's last few games, 44 points, 26 points. Then he had a down game, 13 points against Atlanta. But then he had 34 again against the Knicks. Yeah, I like Hayward a lot tonight. I mean, he plays against Dallas, like, you know, obviously like we just talked about with LaMelo. I'm in full support of Hayward. I don't think his numbers should be that low. LeBron, now then Tim's question here. LeBron plus 130 over 9.5 boards. All right. Going to look into this game here. So Lakers Thunder. 9.5 boards. So really looking at opponent rebounds per game here. Yeah, the Thunder cannot rebound. This was part of my prop the other night. I forgot who. Oh, Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson, heroic effort, by the way, last night, getting that over rebounding prop that I had. But yeah, Oklahoma City can't rebound. They rank 22nd in opponent rebounds per game at 55.6. Now looking at LeBron's actual rebounding numbers. I mean, yeah, I mean, first of all, I think this is really good value. But the problem with LeBron this year is he's not like putting up like, yeah, he's still putting up like insane numbers, but like LeBron numbers, like last few games, 8 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 6 rebounds. But again, favorable matchup against the Thunder, good value. I'm staying away from this prop if I'm you, Tim. Again, I don't think you could. First of all, I think this game could be a blowout. That's the number one concern. Lakers against the Thunder. Thunder were I know they beat the Knicks, but when I watched that Thunder team, they were single-handedly one of the worst teams I've ever watched in the NBA. They literally have almost no one besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Al Horford. That team is so bad. I think this game could be a blowout. And if it's a blowout, then I don't think LeBron covers it. Also, back-to-back, who knows how much LeBron's going to play. It's tough. And he hasn't been covering that lately. Last few games, 6, 7, 7, 8. So he hasn't covered that. Last time he covered that was January 5th. So yeah. Oh, okay. AD possibly out. Yeah, I'd still stay away from it. I mean, even if AD is out, I'm not huge on that line. Any other questions here? Yeah, I'm wearing socks. Any other questions before we head out here? Got some more time. So any other questions, feel free to shoot them. Looking at some of the games tonight. It's funny. Beginning of the year, if you were watching my videos since the beginning of the year, you would know that I love Dante DiVincenzo over threes. And it's still at 1.5. But he has slowed down since the beginning of the year. He was an auto cover for that 1.5 for a little bit. And then one time when I bet him, he did not do it. Looking at DiVincenzo here. So they play the Pistons. Fear blowout there. Yeah, he slowed down. So DiVincenzo, a guy that I had over, I would bet him over threes almost every game to start the year. You want to know why? It's because he stayed at 1.5. He had 3 threes, 2, 5, 3, 3 to start the year. Since then, 1, 0, 1, 3, 1. He slowed down. Favorite, any locks of the night, favorite props of the night. Yeah, I went through this at the beginning. Originally, I was sticking to all Knicks-Nets games, and then they took all of them down. So I had Randle over 5.5 assists. So if you could find that anywhere, I still like that. Austin Rivers over 12.5 points. I originally liked Kevin Durant over 43.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, but once the trade was announced, that moved up to 48.5. Obviously, I like it less now, but I still think he's going to go. He's putting up 35 points tonight. Like I actually, unless it's a blowout, he's putting up 35, even if it is a blowout. So that leads right into the question here. Durant over 13.5 rebounds plus assists. That I like a lot. 8 plus rebounds in each of his last 5 games. And he had 13 assists last game, kind of taking over that playmaker role a little bit, especially with LeVert out tonight. I should say not out. He's completely gone from the team. but Kevin Durant is going to play a playmaker role more. And I think that, because LeVert, when Kyrie is out, they kind of just use LeVert as like that point guard. Not anymore. He's gone. Kyrie's still out. I like Kevin Durant over for sure for rebounds plus assists. Also for my original also. I got Cat over 9.5 rebounds. If that line is still there, that's an awesome one too. So yeah, Timberwolves, Grizzlies tonight. Gonna look at that real quick. So Memphis, in terms of rebounding, they're 12th in opponent rebounds per game at 52.4. Gonna look quickly at Towns' rebounding. How has Towns been doing since he's been back? Let's see. So he's averaging 12 on the year. That's a good get. In the one game, he's back 13 rebounds. Yeah, I do like that. I do like that over 9.5 tonight. That's a good get. Josh, this is a good question. Thoughts on Paul George tonight in general? How does he play against the Pelicans? So the Pelicans are a team that I've picked on this year, and here's the reason why. I'll give you some Pelicans stats, Josh. So basically, when you play the Pelicans, now I know Zion is out tonight. Steven Adams, I believe, is still playing, but usually when you play the Pelicans, you have Zion and Steven Adams plugging up the middle. And when you have those guys plugging up the middle, you're going to have an impossible time driving inside. And as a result, the Pelicans rank 30th in the NBA, so dead last in opponent three-pointers opponent three-pointers made per game at 15.9. They also rank dead last in opponent three-pointers attempted per game, which is at 43.9. So teams are taking, on average, 43.9 threes against the Pelicans this year simply because they're just a monster interior. Now, I know Zion's out tonight, but for Paul George, a guy who's like top 5 in the league in three-pointers made per game against a Pelicans team that just lets you shoot a ton of threes, yeah, I think Paul George could have a pretty big night. Yeah, and also looking at this, so I mentioned that New Orleans is a monster in the paint. They are second in opponent points per game allowed in the paint to opponents. So 39.8 they only allow. Yes, they're a mammoth in the paint. That's why teams shoot a bunch against them. But yeah, I think Paul George, huge night. Gonna look at his props here. Is it up? Paul George over 3.5 threes. Yeah, exactly. He's been hitting like 4.2 a game. Paul George over 25. Yeah, exactly. His points also 25.5. This is like the revenge year for Paul George. He had that pandemic P moments in the playoffs where he just couldn't hit anything. He's going off this year. I like Paul George a lot tonight. Any other questions before we head out? Thoughts on Josh Hart now that Bledsoe and Lonzo are ruled out? Josh Hart, he's a nice bench player. I like Josh Hart. I'm gonna just check his rebounding stats here, but this guy gets a ton of boards. So Josh Hart, 28, obviously comes off the bench. He's gonna play now a lot more because of Bledsoe and Lonzo are out, and Zion also will have more opportunities. 8.4 points, 8.4 rebounds off the bench. He rebounds well. I like Josh Hart. Last few games, 8 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 7, 11. He could rebound. And 19 points last game as well. I think I like Josh Hart a lot. He could have a pretty big night. He's going to have a lot of opportunity, obviously. We've seen Bledsoe get a ton of minutes this year, and he's basically going to play that role. Any other questions? Thank you all for tuning into the live stream, by the way. This is a really active one. I like it a lot. I haven't done a live stream since my waiver wire show back in the fall, and barely anyone was joining those. But really happy that I've built this up a little bit, and now we have people joining. Thank you, Garrett. All right. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, heading out and placing all the bets for the night. Any last thoughts? All right. That is it. Goodbye, everyone. Good luck with the prop betting tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to tweet at me. Feel free to DM me. I'll be sure to get back to you. Also, if you are not subscribed to my Patreon yet, be sure to consider joining that. We've had some great conversations about prop betting each night in the Discord. So Discord, if you don't know what that is, it's basically just a messenger chat. So we have that all set up over there. And look, the Patreon's already up to 23, which is great. I mean, I founded this thing almost 4 weeks ago at this point, but I'm pretty happy with that. We're building a great community there. And if you like prop betting and you want prop bets the night that I'm not doing these YouTube videos, then be sure to head over to there, because I create content for their podcasts each night that I'm not on the YouTube. We have a hold on from Thomas. A hold on. Any prop bet standouts tonight? Went through this earlier. I like Randle over 5.5 assists because that is what I have been betting. As long as they keep his line at 5.5 assists, I'm going to take advantage of it. I liked Rivers over 12.5 points because he's starting in favor of Bullock. I think Durant's going off tonight. I like his over points plus rebounds plus assists. Then they took all these down from DraftKings. Turns out that still some books may have them, so just be on the lookout for that. But those are my 3 bets. Also, some other guys that we highlighted in here. I like Paul George a lot tonight. I think he's going to hit a bunch of threes against the Pelicans. But yeah, and I also like LaMelo Ball a lot going forward. His lines are not too high. But those would be the guys that I'd focus on. All right. So I'm going to head out. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching. Really, really successful live stream. So I'm excited for that. Good luck with betting, everyone, tonight.